And welcome back to thecrochetcrowd.com. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we're going to explore this fabulous little sweater together. This is all the way from sizes 1 year old all the way to 8 years old. It could be for boys or girls, it doesn't matter. You just have to change the color if you're wanting it to be very specific to a gender. Now this pattern is exceptionally easy to get. There's a free pattern available in the more information link of this video, and I use baby marble here. This is James C. Brett baby marble to create the effects. The colors transitions that you see are in the yarn ball itself. No fancy camera tricks. This is just working up naturally. Now this is a closed sweater so that there's no buttons on it, and when you turn it over on the other side, just like you see here, you can see that the other side is wonderful as well. So let's begin to explore this pattern together, and let's get started now. So in this pattern we have 4 components. We have the front panel, which you see on the front. We have the back panel underneath, and then we have the sleeves, which are worked as one big unit. So you have 2 sleeves, 1 back panel and 1 front panel. Now the back panel and the front panel are almost identical to each other, like almost. And what I want to do for you today is that I'm going to show you how to do one panel, because once you understand it, that the second panel is going to be very easy. So I'm going to be showing you how to do the front panel. Now the difference between the front and the back panel is there's a dip right here in the front section. Now the back panel, what's going to happen is that we're going to work all the way up through here, and then we're going to do a slight indentation in, and we do this on the front and the back panel, and then for the back panel we just continually go all the way across. Do you see how it comes up like this? So in the back you can see that it comes all the way to the top, just like so. So on this tutorial today I'm gonna show you how to do the front panel, because I'm gonna tell you at this certain point is that you're no longer gonna do the dip. You're just gonna go back and forth till you get to the top. It's very easily done. And so what we're going to do is that I'm gonna show you tricks on the assembly. We'll do that today as well, and then we're going to do some trim work, and this pattern really does not take that long. You'll be very excited about it. So let's continue, and I'll show you what I'm working on right now. So here's what a panel is going to look like. This is what this sweater is going to be today, and I've already done the back panel. And the back panel I've just gone all the way straight across to the top. So if you really look at it here, you can see that I've come across and then I've done an indentation in on both sides and then gone straight up. And so if you understand that concept, you can understand that this is a really easy way to go. So in today's tutorial I'm just going to show you how to do the front panel, because that's the one with the dip, because this seems very easy if you're just going all the way back and forth all the way to the top. Now the question that you need to do is that you need to get a tape measure so that you can start measuring, because there's really no secret when it comes to the rows. You have to figure it out through measurements in order to make it work for you. Now here's what one of the sleeves look like, and I've done my homework, so I just have to do one sleeve with you on camera today. And essentially what it does is it looks like a pie shape almost. See, it's bigger at the top than it is the bottom. We start off on the bottom, and this is right where the wrist would be, and then we just get slightly bigger as we go. And what's going to happen at the end is that we're just going to fold it in half like so, and do a sew. But you're not going to do any of the sewing until we get everything done, because I'm going to show you the secrets to that. After that we're just going to apply a little bit of trim just like you see here, and then also with this other panel is that we apply the trims and everything, all the fancy dancy stuff afterward. And of course you can always do appliques if you wish as well. So without further ado, let's begin. I am using the James C. Brett Chunky today, and this is a really wonderful, so if you like this color combination, just look for James C. Brett Chunky Marble, and this is just such a wonderful thing. So all the colors that you see are basically what is in the yarn ball, and I'm letting the yarn do all the fancy stitch work for me today. When looking at the pattern, you will see that the directions are for 1 year. Okay, so those are the sizes that I'm going to be working with today. Changes for the sizes in 2, 4, 6, and 8 years are in the parentheses. So when you look at it here and you see the 1 number, that's 1 year, and then everything in the parentheses is the next size. So the next one's 2 years old, 4, 6, and 8. And so when we're working along in the instructions that we say with the back with a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook or size K, it says to chain 36, but then you'll see chain 38, 40, 44, 46. So if you understand that those are the sizes, so this is 1 year, you have 2, 4, 6, and 8. That totally makes sense when you're looking at it from that perspective. What I would do if I were you, if you're not working on the one size, I'd go with a highlighter or a pen and circle the numbers that you are working with so that you never lose track on exactly where you are within this project. So let's begin again. So 6.5 millimeter size K crochet hook. Let's begin to grab our yarn. I'm gonna leave a generous tail so I can use a darning needle to sew it in afterwards so that no tails are going to fall out. Create a slip knot, and as per the instructions it says that I'm going to chain 36. Remember that this one never counts as one. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and please go all the way to 36, and when we come back I'll show you a little trick in order to make a really great edge. My 36 are now in play, and essentially I have to single crochet second chain from the hook. But can I tell you a little tip? In order to get a really perfect edge that you will not have any problems with, I recommend that you go from 1, 2 and then turn it over just like you see here. And what I want you to do is that there is a hump that is on the back, okay, and what I want you to do is just go into that instead, okay, and we're gonna single crochet that. Once you do one, the rest of it is gonna naturally turn over onto itself so that the humps are exposed as you're going all the way across. This adds a really element, so you're going to be crocheting on this edge anyway to do some trim work at the bottom, but why not have an edge that is absolutely perfect? So it's a great way to have a perfect edge and being able to be consistent at the same time. So just single crochet yourself all the way across regardless on what size you're working with today. I've just single crocheted myself all the way across, and now I'm just gonna go back and forth, and if you look at the instructions it says that you just have to keep going back and forth till you get a certain measurement. So it's 5.5 inches if you're doing the 1 year old, and then 6 and 6.5, 7.5 and 9. So basically you just have to figure out which one that you're working with. What I'd recommend is if you're already done one, use it as a template so that even if your measuring tape is off by a little bit, you can just put this panel on top of this one and realize where the indentation is. What we're doing is just simply going back and forth until we get to the point where we're gonna start the indentation in. The sleeves fit into the slot. That's why there's an indentation. So just please go back and forth and get the size that you need, and just look at the instructions on what height that you need in order to make it work. If you're on your second panel, just make sure that you just cross compare it to make sure that you're not off by any particular rows. So please just simply just turn your work just like so, and so now you have the perfect edge into your work just like so. So you're going to chain 1 first. So chain 1 like so, and you're gonna come into the same one, so just same stitch and just single crochet across and like so. So please just go, I'm doing a 1 year old, so I'm gonna keep doing this off camera until I get this to be 5.5 inches, and it really won't take that long. So I'll see you back in just a moment. So I now have the bottom part of the panel done, whether this is front and back. This is both the same on both sides. So what we're going to do, and this is for front and back as well, is that we are just going to start off, and I've already chained one and I shouldn't have. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to slip stitch the first 2 over. So we're just going to slip in our hook into the first stitch, pull through and through, and then the next stitch through and through like that. So you're just only coming in just a small little indent just like so. So the 2 is for the size that we're working on. Yours could be 2, 2, 2, 3 or 3 depending on which one you're looking at in the parentheses. So what we have here is that it says to chain 1 and then single crochet into the next one, and what you need to do is that you need to go all the way to the other side. So but not all the way to the other side. We want to only go to what it says in the parentheses. It either say 2s or 3s, and essentially I just have to single crochet myself going all the way across, and I want to stop leaving 2 stitches untouched. And basically because I slip stitch 2 over here, then when I'm not going all the way to the other side, it's going to cause an indentation to happen on the other side as well. So let's meet back there in just a second, and we'll see you. So I'm still coming all the way across, and I just have to look and make sure that I leave 2 stitches untouched at the very end. So we have 1 and 2. Just like so. So what I want to do now is just simply turn in my work, and if you're working on the back panel, all you have to just do now is just go back and forth just like you were in the bottom section, and the backing, what it says is that repeats this row until the total thing measures 9.5 inches if you're doing a size 1 year old, and then the other sizes are in parentheses. So what you just need to do is just to chain 1 first and then just single crochet going across. But if you're working, so we're gonna start off with the front panel, or sorry, the back panel if we're doing this sweater. And so that is basically the basis for measuring when it comes to doing this. So what I want to do is I want to come back in just a second and I'm going to teach you how to do the front panel, because the front panel we're still doing this, but we're gonna stop a little earlier to do some fancy stitch work in order to create the neck line in the front of the sweater. Now the front panel of the sweater is very similar to what we're doing right now, and you're going to need a tape measure just like so. So what you're going to be doing is that we're following along the pattern as you are in the back, but what we have to look for as per the instructions is that we have to then continue to work this up. So we've made the indentations in and we're going to work it up, and if you look at the instructions it says work the same as the back until the piece measures 7.5 inches if you're doing the 1 year old. There's other sizes there for the others. So all I want to do is that I want to use 7.5. So I'm gonna just lay it down on my work and I'm simply going to do back and forth on this until that I get to the point that it's at the same height. So that's where the neck is gonna start once we're doing that. So we just have to continue to do that. So go back and forth until you get to the height that you need. In my case it'll be 7.5, and then we're gonna start doing the neck work at that point, and it's a lot of fun too. When looking at my original sample right here, and what we have here is that what's gonna happen is that one shoulder that we're about to start now, so I've got my 7.5 inch done here, so my indentation is done. I'm ready to start the neck. What's gonna happen is that we're going to work and basically do one shoulder first. Do you see how the shoulder is a different color on this side? That's because the yarn never went all the way across. It stopped. So it went bap, 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 boom, got smaller, and then what we're going to do in the second part is that we're gonna pick up in, we're just leaving empty space in the middle, and then we're picking up and working our way on this end. So we just have to make sure that when we're working on this project is that we capture the stitches in the same point. So for example, we're gonna go and we're gonna start and we're gonna bump 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 bump, okay? And you just don't start on this side and continue it to go this way, because what happens is that this stitch, you see how it looks consistent? If you start on this side, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna see a stitch line looking backwards, and it's gonna be very obvious. So when you start, you literally have to have this shoulder done and you just skip over the middle section and start on this side and get ourselves smaller. Therefore you don't see any inconsistencies when it comes to working on any stitch work in order to make it look weird. So let's begin, and we have our 7.5 inches done. And you can see that the panel looks just like so. And so now we're gonna start on doing the first shoulder. So let's begin that now. So now that our sizing is done, we are just going to simply chain one, and as per the instructions it says to chain one, single turn, which is, we've already done the turn, and it says to single crochet in the first 10. There's other dimensions for other sizes as well. So you might have to do 10, 11, 12, 13, or 14. So this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. So we're going to do that, and essentially we have to then go across and turn the work. So let's turn our work. So we're no longer gonna go all the way across, we're just gonna stop, and we are going to do a decrease row. So what we have to do first is chain one, and then it says to skip the first single crochet and single crochet into each stitch across. So normally we would come into this first one down right here. We're going to skip it and just single crochet the rest going across. And this is gonna create a roundish neck formation as we go around. So if you're doing the back panel, you don't have to do any of this work, and make sure you go right to the end. So it says row number 3, okay, we're just gonna turn our work, is that we're going to chain one and single crochet into each across. Now you don't want to decrease on this side because that's the side that's meeting up with the sleeve. So you're only decreasing whenever you're in the neck line area, which is in the center of the panel. Okay, and we want to make sure that when we go across is that we did reach over for a chaining one. That is not a stitch here, it's only this last one. So we've got to just make sure we look for that, okay? So make sure you don't accidentally put that one in the chain. And let's turn our work again, and it says repeat the last 2 rows 2 more times. So to repeat the last 2 rows is that we're going to chain one, and skip over the first one, go to the second, single crochet all the way across, okay, turn our work. So you're getting smaller and smaller and narrower and narrower, and you can see that they're starting to be a V shape, and we are just going to chain one and single crochet across. So this is obviously the top of the shoulder area that we're starting to hit. So we're single crocheting all the way across. We've got to be mindful on that very last stitch that we are not getting into that chain one first. Okay, and so then this is the last time we're going to repeat. So chain one, skip the first one, go to the second over, and single crochet the rest. So you see the color is transitioning as we've been working up, so that means that the other shoulder will be a slightly different color, and that's fine. It's part of being artistic, right? And so we have to chain one for one more time, like so, and then we just single crochet into each, and then we fasten off, and that will conclude that first shoulder, just like so. And leave a generous tail so that you can use it to sew it, so you can actually use it to sew it when you come to do the rest of it. So this is where we're gonna stop, and you can see that the neck on this side has been a nice V shape. So let's begin to do the other side next. So we're about to start the second shoulder, and basically it says to skip over 11 stitches here and then pick up, and then we're gonna do the 10 stitches as we've done over here. Now the 10 could be different depending on what size you're working on, but let me give you a tip here. If for example something happened and you're off by 1 or 2 stitches, why have 2 different sizes of shoulders when in actual fact you can just pay attention to the end of this only. So you know that there's 10 over here. What I would do is, instead of counting across 11 or whatever numbers it's asking you to count across, count backwards. So I know I need 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's where I'm gonna go, right there. So this will allow you to always keep your center in balance. So you're just gonna join your yarn, chain one, and single crochet all the way to the edge, just like so. And so this really will allow you to be able to play with the concept without having to screw up the neckline. There's nothing worse than you realizing you're getting too far and realizing that that both shoulders are really not the same size, and it's something that you really can't repair. So if you can think about it from terms of you know, reverse psychology, you can get the shoulders to be perfect every time. So let's begin. We're going to do the same thing. So we're just turning our work. We're chaining one and then single crochet all the way across this shoulder. So we're essentially doing what we did on the other side. The only difference is that where we started was slightly different. So our flat edge is on the other side, and so that's why you don't see in the instructions repeat, you know, shoulder one, because you're working on the other side. So let's turn our work now, and we are going to do exactly what we did on the other side. We're gonna chain one, skip the first stitch, go to the second over, and then single crochet yourself all the way across. So in actual fact you're only decreasing every other one. Turn your work, okay, chain one and single crochet all the way across. If you can always keep an eye on where your sleeve is, you can always get it off to a good start. So it's whenever you're starting from the other side. So remember, we chained one over here, so therefore this single crochet when we're going all the way across is gonna stop on the first single crochet, not in this chain one area. Let's turn our work. Okay, and we're gonna repeat again the rows. So chain one, skip the first one, go to the second. Okay, just single crochet yourself all the way across as what it says. So, and then single crochet yourself again, going across. When you come back to this, remember that you did the chain 1 to do that decrease, so don't go all the way, just to the first one like so, and voila, you should be able to take this 2 and be able to compare it to each other. In actual fact, I think that I'm off by 1 at this point. So on the final one, I'm just going to chain 1 and single crochet yourself into there. So it's just a single crochet yourself all the way across, and then just save a generous tail. Do make sure you compare the 2 shoulders to make sure that they're identical in the width as well as the height, or you'll be very upset about it when it comes to assembly. And so basically I'm going to leave a generous tail at this moment, and I'm going to put that aside. If you're working on the front or the back panel next, you just have to continue to do that, and you can just follow this. So we're going to start the sleeves next. Please leave your panels and everything to the side. We're going to do all the other fancy stitch work first before we get to the assembly. So that's what we have at this point. So now we're going to begin to do the sleeves, and we're going to start off doing the bottom first, and this is right where the wrist is, and we're going to work our way up, and we're getting slightly bigger as we go across. And so once you get your first sleeve done, then you'll want to cross compare it to your second. So leaving a generous tail at the beginning. Okay, we can use that to sew in later. It says with the same size hook we're going to be able to chain a certain amount. So mine is 21, yours could be 21, 21, 24, 24, 27 depending on the size you want to work on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and go all the way to the number that you need. In my case it'll be 21, and I'll see you back in just a moment. Now what we're going to do is we have that done. We're just going to go second chain from the hook. Again, I recommend turning it around and getting the back hump of that, and not just any strings. It'll make the edging a lot more nicer. You are going to be applying trim to the bottom of this sleeve, so you're going to want the trim to be able to attach beautifully. So we're just going to single crochet ourselves all the way across for row number 1. Okay, in row number 2 it's very easy. We're just going to chain 1 and then single yourself all the way across. So single crochet, and this one is a really easy one. In the next rows 3, you will notice that in the instructions that that number of increased row number 3 is not bolded, so you don't realize that it may be a secondary line to work with. So it looks like it's a running instruction because it's not been bolded, so just keep an eye on for that, and it'll just make it easier for you to follow. So row number 2, single crochet all the way across. Increase row number 3 is really easy. Is that what we're going to do is we're going to apply extra stitches on the front, on the start and the back of the line. So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to put 2 single crochet into this first stitch like this, and then we're going to single ourselves all the way across. So on the very last stitch of this row we need to put 2 single crochets in that side in order to make it sure that it's growing properly and consistently on both sides of the row. So when we get to the other side, let's just add 2 more stitches. So I'm on my very last stitch now, and I'm just going to add in 2 stitches just like so. So very simple. So it says rows number 4 to 10. Now rows 4 all the way to 10 now are just chain 1 and single crochet yourself going all the way across, and please do that. So rows number 4 to 10 you're going to do that, and when we come back we'll have that done and we'll do row number 11, and there is a repeat happening on here, but we'll cover that in just a moment. So please do rows 4 to 10 now. Okay, rows number 4 to 10 are now done, and I'm simply going to start off with row number 11. We're just going to chain up 1 and then 2 single crochets in the very beginning, and then single crochet all the way across except for the last one. We are going to put in 2 single crochets. So what I need you to do for the remainder of the sleeve, but not the complete sleeve, is that I need you to repeat rows 4 to 11 2 more times. And so basically when we meet back I'm gonna have that all done, and row number 11, do not forget, is that adding of 2 stitches at the beginning and at the end of the row in order to make it consistent. So when we come back we'll have that done, and if you're working on all sizes, even rows number 4 to 11 repeating of 2 more times does actually count as well, and then after that we need just to put in a few more extra rows just to make the length work, and then we'll be working on that from that point. So while I've chatted with you to give you some advice, I'm already on the coming up to the end. The last one we're just going to add 2, and that'll complete off round number 11. So please repeat 4 to 11 2 more times. So I've now just finished rows 4 to 11 two more times. So this is what the entire sleeve looks like at this point. So now you just have to look at the instructions and determine how long you need this length to be. So for the 1-year-old size, it's only 7.5 inches, and in actual fact I just finished rows 4 to 11 and it is actually 7.5 inches on its own. So I don't want to continue this any further, and I just want to just trim off, leaving a very generous tail so I can use it to sew in afterward, just like so. And voila, I will do that. So for the next sleeve you just have to repeat the same instructions. Both sleeves are identical, and now when we come back I'm gonna show you how to do some of the assembly, or all of the assembly, for this particular idea. Also, what you will want to do before you go any further, you will want to cross-reference your two sleeves together to make sure that they are the same size, because if they're not, it's gonna be very obvious in the next part if your one sleeve is bigger than the other. So let's begin to do the assembly next. So the next step we want to do to put things together is that we want to put the sides so that they're opposite to each other. If you have one side that looks a little bit different than the other and you prefer it to be on the outside, what we're going to do is that we're going to just come along and just sew this section here together, and then start a new one and sew this section together, and then this will essentially be the inside of the sweater. So for example, if you like this side, they should both be identical, but if you like this side better, then what you want to do is that you want to turn it over so that it's on the outside, or on the other side, so that it doesn't become the inside of the sweater. So right now I just want you to do a whip stitch and just sew along here and here, and when we come back we're gonna then do the sleeves on either side. So all I'm gonna do is that these long tails that I asked you to leave at the very end of the project, is that I want you to get a darning needle, and that darning needle is what we're gonna use to whip stitch it together, like so. So essentially what you have to just do is just line up the two edges together, just like this, and just come on the opposite side and come through like this. And I'm using very similar colors so that you don't really see it. So we're just gonna continue just to kind of circle around and just work our way to the edge, just like so. And I want you to, this is how you sew the entire thing, so this is how I would want you to do all the sewing from this part forward, so I don't need to show you how to do that at this point. So just continue to sew across, and then come across, and then do the other side, and when we come back after this point we're going to show you how to do the sleeves, because the sleeves are going to be very easy. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, why don't we sew down the side of the sweater? We're not ready to do that yet. We need to attach the sleeves first. So let's see you back in just a moment. So at the end what you want to do is just to fasten off. You just want to make sure you're just taking your time, and then you just want to slide up underneath the stitches like so, and go back and forth 3 times in order to really hide that loose end in. And therefore if you go back three times like so, it'll never come out, because that's impossible for the sweater to move in 3 directions in order to create a loose tail from falling out. So that's how you would do that. So now that our seams are together right here, what we need to do is we need to attach our sleeves, and the sleeves will have a natural indentation just like we did when we were doing the panels. So this happens to fit right into the position. That means that our gauging is right, and what we need to do then is just sew along this edge here and here and coming out. So this whole piece will be attached here at this point. And please do both sleeves, and again do not go any further than that, and get both sleeves. So basically what's going to happen is by the time we're done this particular step is that you'll have what appears to be a whole flat sweater, but actually not completely assembled yet. So let's continue to do that next using the same stitch whip stitches, and you can see this is coming along really nicely. So now that my sleeves are in place, the seam lines are all up. So this is up, these are up and up. So all I want you to do is that I just want you to pick up the front and just do so that it's folded. So here is your sweater coming up, and so the seam lines are on the outside here, and what we want to do then, the next part, is that we want to join with the new yarn and come down, starting at the sleeve, coming all the way down to the bottom like so, and then again another one on this side, starting on the edge, working our way down. And then what we're going to do at that point was that we're going to turn this so that we're gonna fold it inside right. So basically you're looking at the good side of the sweater, so that we can do the trim work on the neck, the sleeves, and the base. So now turn the sweater so it's inside right. So basically the seams are now on the inside, and this is exactly what you'll see. But now it's time to add basically the trim work in order to really give this a final kick at the end. Now you'll have a neck hole. you'll have sleeves as well as you'll have a base, and essentially we're going to do the exact same on all of the pieces. So what I'm going to be using is Red Heart with Love here, and it's a soft yarn. This is really soft, so I want to make sure I'm complementing the yarn. I'm going to use a size H or size 5mm crochet hook because you need a smaller one in order to make it really nicely done, I guess. A nice tight finish. So basically I'm going to show you how to do one edge, basically either one, and then you can apply the same concept to the others. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you that next. I'm going to start off with the neck area, and I want to join the white here in a seam, so it's on the very top of the shoulder. If you were doing the base, then you'll want to join it at the seam of the base on the side, or even if this is the sleeve, you'll want to join it with the sleeve seam as well. So we're going to just join it in, and essentially what's happening here, because you are going to be using single crochet throughout, when you're coming down the edges, basically every row equals one single crochet, so you just have to follow the rows until you get to the basic stitches again where you can just pick up and go. So I'm just gonna leave an extra long tail so I can sew that in afterward. No worse than looking at a child and seeing their tails hang out. You'd be lucky if they're not wearing the sweater inside out to begin with. So we're just going to join it like so. So I just did a slip knot, and I'm just gonna gently pull through. And I want to make sure I take my time in this process. This is a really critical part because the edging is what is going to make or break your sweater in order for being uber cute. So we're just going to pull things through. I'm just going to realign my hook and get everything set. So we're going to chain one first. Okay, and then just this straggler, I'm going to leave it down on top of the line. So come into the very same stitch that you just did everything in, like the join, and just put in another single crochet in, and then basically every stitch around the neck all the way is going to have a single crochet. So this here is in the end of a row, so the next one is the end of the next row. That's the advantage with single crochet. It seems to be a great thing. So we are using a smaller hook, so you'll notice that it's going to pull it to be a little bit tighter, and that's exactly what the designer is asking you to do. So just like so. So we're going to come down the front of the neckline there, and you just sometimes you just have to make the stitches fit in evenly in order to make it work as well. Sometimes you just have to play with it. You're the crocheter, you can decide what's good for you, and then once you're down you can just simply just blaze along the top. So for all of the trim work, all you need to do is go around each one 4 times. So essentially the first one is to establish the stitches into the front of the sweater, or to the good side, and then basically the other 3 revolutions are following exactly what you've just put in right as you're doing it right now. So when we come back, I'll show you how to slip stitch and join it, so then you can start another round and apply these same concepts to everything that you're doing for all the trim. When you get all the way back around, make sure you get into every one, and then this is the last one, and then we're just gonna join it with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then just start again of just single crochet around. So please make sure that you have 4 revolutions, and then you just want to fasten off the ends and weave it in and make it look fabulous, and then repeat the same concept for all of the edges, including the bottom and the end of the sleeves. When we come back, I'll have everything done, and you can see and check on my work. And there you have it. These are my 2 finished sweaters. This is what we were working on the tutorial today. James C. Brett Chunky Marble Regular, and then this is the James C. Brett Baby Marble. You can see either one is a winner, and this has been a really fabulous idea. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of thecrochetcrowd.com. Stay tuned for more information and free ideas, of course, on thecrochetcrowd.com. We'll see you. Bye-bye.